Catherine's war room, codename Gosling Nest, might have looked ridiculous to seasoned film producers. Laptops balanced on ironing boards, USB drives labeled in alphabet pasta, ring lights duct-taped to diantler sconces for after-hours Zooms. But the metrics beaming into those screens were pure gold. View-through rate, 78%, exceptional. Male audience share, 43%, unheard of for early years content. Welsh language plays, tripled the projection, thanks to Charlotte's insistence the dub sound not like school assembly. BSL streams, 21,000 in the first 48 hours, fulfilling a promise Catherine made to parents at a Birmingham deaf school last year. Even the storm conspired to boost engagement. Parents stuck indoors with restless toddlers cued the animations on loop, nurseries closed for flooding loaded them onto tablets. By lunchtime, newspapers that had planned double-page spreads on Andrew's impending parliamentary deprinting pivoted to sidebars, like Kate's squirrel teaches kids anxiety hacks. In the Westminster press lobby, a veteran columnist snarled, "She just banjo-ed 2 scandals and a hurricane with cartoon otters." Meanwhile, inside a candlelit drawing room, Charles recorded a 30-second message of gratitude. He looked WAN, but his eyes glinted. Insiders say he insisted on taping despite medical staff's objections. Storm-Lashed had battered the monarchy's literal walls, Andrew's headlines battered its metaphorical ones. The films, he believed, offered the kind of intangible stabilizer the Crown sometimes lacked in spreadsheets and press releases, a story of hope delivered with empirical heft. The clip posted at 5 p.m. By 8 p.m., it had reassured half-drunk Twitter users that the king was alive, coherent, and proud of his daughter-in-law's digital blitzkrieg. Andrew, nursing dwindling relevance inside Royal Lodge, complained privately, "Animations won't fix leaky roofs." The remark leaked, mutated into memes, and amplified Kate's YouTube algorithm ranking by another 6%. In Gosling Nest they called it free SEO. Day 2, Apple Education proposed an AR filter. Melissa and Doug faxed sketches of plush Lubot cranes with corduroy boom arms. UNICEF requested global licensing. New Zealand asked for Maori voiceovers starring Cora penguins instead of squirrels. Kate's team parked everything. First they needed longitudinal data. A Cambridge University ethics panel expedited approval for a 10-year study tracking nursery cohorts exposed to the film's outcome metrics to align conveniently with William's first decade on the throne, should history unfold that way. In London's Commons Library, a junior researcher drafted the title's Deprivation Modernisation Bill and took a break to stream episode 3. She cried when the Fox kit labelled his fear, jitters, and placed it gently into a jar labelled Yet. That same afternoon the Telegraph's splash about Andrew's alleged fistfight with Harry lost digital imprints to a flurry of parent blog reviews praising the jar metaphor. As storm debris cleared, Catherine finally left her makeshift editing suite to walk Balmoral's waterlogged paths with George and Charlotte, pointing out how arborists assess tree stress after wind shear. Reporters yelled questions about Andrew's title. She replied with a soft instruction to her children, "Notice the roots. Even if the branches break, the roots decide if the tree returns." Cameras caught the line, serving as unintentional soundbite for every bulletin that night. That evening, over a hastily replanted state dinner, Charles toasted, "To Catherine's quiet urgency, proof our future may ride on pixels as much as plinths." William raised a glass, privately marveling at the algorithmic jujitsu his wife had pulled while he juggled demolition timetables and party conference lobbyists. Somewhere inside Royal Lodge, Andrew stared at view counters rising faster than his legal fees and muttered again about cartoons. 48 hours after launch, total views surpassed 2 million. Links appeared in NHS clinic waiting rooms. The Department for Education opened negotiations to embed the films into health visitor induction by 2026. A think tank projected £3 billion mental health savings if even a third of British under-5s internalised the lessons. Kensington's data chief flagged a milestone. Golden First 5 had become the most watched royal digital content outside a wedding or funeral, and the only one turning passive spectators into active policy citations. Storm-Lashed receded, Balmoral reopened, YouTube throttled as new episodes released on cue. Each Wednesday drop outranked fresh waves of Andrew speculation. By the time the Daily Mail resurrected the Air Miles Andy label, Penguin Random House had optioned a picture book adaptation featuring otters, owls, and Lubot. All author proceeds would loop back to the Royal Foundation, seed money for Phase 2, sleep hygiene penguins, digital diet badgers, and a multi-episode arc on safe touch consent starring a nervy fawn. Treasury aides, once wary of royal crossover, now whispered about cost-neutral Crown partnership. 2 weeks post-launch, the Centre for Early Childhood added 20 new partner organisations, including Barnardo's and the National Association of Head Teachers. App Analytics confirmed 18% of viewers rewatched episodes within 24 hours, a retention curve that would make Netflix salivate. Dr. Hopenbay, pediatrician and rising social media science star, declared the films, the most accessible translation of co-regulation literature I've ever seen, makes government leaflets look Paleolithic. Her thread out engaged every negative headline linked to Andrew that same weekend. Inside Buckingham, courtiers debated the optics. One grey-haired aide grumbled that the monarchy risked becoming a content studio, but a younger counterpart fired back, better to build neural scaffolds than feed endless scandal rebuttals. Charles quietly placed both perspectives into a mental ledger labelled Future of Relevance. William, glancing at an ops note confirming his Vauxhall Homeless project, had secured 14 new philanthropic backers, thanks to crossbuzz from Kate's films, decided the synergy tasted like destiny. Catherine, finally shrugging off the storm's adrenaline, sat on a Balmoral window seat, editing episode 7's credits line by line. She embedded a last-frame Easter egg, a QR code linking to a resource hub for single-parent mental health communities. When an aide asked if she feared overexposure, she smiled. The work is the exposure. If it's good enough, the headlines will chase us, not the other way round. 1 month later, as the Queen Mother typo saga faded into the archives and Parliament fixed a date for the first reading of the York Deprivation Bill, Episode 7 premiered. 2 beavers arguing, then rebuilding a dam called Trust Bridge plank by plank. A toddler whisper narration, borrowed from Louis, murmurs, "We fix together." In Westminster, early years cuts faced cross-party rebellion. MPs showed the beaver clip on a Commons tablet, as evidence Britain craved coherent family policy. Across the Atlantic, PBS Kids acquired North American rights. On TikTok, a therapist remixed the Serve and Return Owl into a dance challenge. Thousands of teens practiced active listening moves, blissfully unaware they were rehearsing Harvard attachment theory. And in the stillness of a Highland night, long after tourists had left and the last generator hum subsided, the Princess of Wales stepped outside. The air smelled of pine sap and fresh sawn benches carved from Storm-Lashed casualties. She looked up at a sky unmarred by city glare, whispered something no boom mic could capture, perhaps a word of thanks to the wind for clearing the calendar, and walked back inside to draft Phase 3. While storms tear roofs, scandals tear reputations, and typographical errors tear protocol, 7 quiet films now teach Britain's smallest citizens to breathe, listen, label, apologize, and try again. Foundations invisible today, but unbudgeable tomorrow, scaffolding for a monarchy that must stand steady in the gales of the streaming age. If the House of Windsor survives the algorithm century, historians may trace its pivot not to coronations or balcony waves, but to a princess, a laptop, and an upload bar inching upward during the roar of a Highland storm.